Welcome to the world of dark romance tales. Dare to follow us into the night, where desire and danger entwine. I woke up inside the body of the wicked supporting actress in a novel. According to the script, I'm supposed to spend my days burning with jealousy toward the male lead's white moonlight, lose my sanity, and drive myself straight into ruin, ultimately ending up locked away in a hospital ward. Tragic? Maybe. But the moment I saw that flawless face in the mirror, I almost swore out loud. With this kind of beauty? I haven't even loved myself enough yet. Why would I chase after a cold man just to earn a gloomy ending? The black card resting in my palm gleamed softly, and I glanced at the walk-in closet overflowing with haute couture. Shelves lined with handbags and dresses dazzling enough to blind a villainess with this starting point. And she still managed to destroy herself? I couldn't help laughing. My apologies to the original author. But no hospital is getting my name on their patient list. I plan to eat well, dress well, earn money, and live comfortably. I was still picturing a future sparkling with good food and soft pillows when a freezing hand suddenly clamped around my neck. The grip was so strong my breath locked in my throat. Chu had just come from a funeral. The faint scent of incense and burnt paper clung to him, blending strangely with his usual cedar cologne, cold, heavy, suffocating. Hoai An. His voice was low, trembling with restrained anger. You'd better pray that Duong is unharmed. If I catch you mimicking her expressions, copying her gestures, or daring to hurt her again, his fingers tightened, each word cold as winter steel. I'll make your life worse than death. Tears spilled down my face, not from sorrow. Just a simple reflex from nearly choking. But Chu stared at that teardrop, his gaze turning even colder. I knew exactly what he was thinking. The old Hoai An was famous for faking pitiful tears, copying every little mannerism of Duong. She even spent 3 months practicing crying in front of a mirror. Now that a real tear fell, he still assumed I was putting on an act. Suddenly, he released me. I stumbled back, catching myself against the icy vanity. My throat burned. A fit of coughing tore out, coo. Eyes watering, vision blurring. Chu stood above me, looking down as though I were something dirty stuck in his path. Remember what I said, he growled, tugging his tie loose. Stay away from Duong. If she doesn't wake up today, you can follow her down. The door slammed so hard the walls trembled. I slumped against the table, exhaling shakily. My neck throbbed, but my mind was suddenly clear. So this was the domineering CEO energy I'd seen on TV dramas? Turns out they're just impulsive men with nerves wired wrong. Their hands move before their brains do. With the entire Chu Corporation in his hands, anyone could guess what direction things would go. If the script forces me into tragedy, then I'll simply rewrite my role myself. I gripped the edge of the vanity and stood. In the mirror, my cheeks were flushed, lashes damp, hair tousled in a way that made me look fragile, alluring, a little wild, pathetic, maybe, but beautiful, painfully beautiful, as if crafted by a goddess. Compared to Duong's soft innocence, this face was vivid and striking. Unfortunately, the male lead, Chu adored gentle, quiet types like her. To him, Hoai An's beauty was flashy, calculating, scheming, disgusting, he'd thought. So no matter how hard the original tried, imitating, pleasing, sabotaging, her ending remained the same: family ruined, freedom lost, a lifetime trapped in a hospital. Tragic, didn't even begin to cover it. I touched the red mark on my neck. The sting was a cold reminder. This isn't a dream. I really did fall into a book. I remembered this plot point well. Duong had just returned to the country when a minor car accident startled her into fainting. No one was injured, but Chu immediately accused Hoai An without evidence, simply because she had played petty tricks before. He believed she was guilty again. The original cried, swore innocence, and even threw herself at him trying to gain sympathy. It only made things worse. I looked down at myself, wearing a thin spaghetti strap dress clearly prepared for a staged, pitiful crying scene. A shiver ran down my spine. I grabbed a large bathrobe from the chair and wrapped it tightly around myself. No way was I giving that man more reason to misunderstand. Silly girl. I value my life far too much for that. If I've been reborn into a wealthy, stunning heiress, why would I walk toward death? The male lead can keep his white moonlight. The money? I'll keep that for myself. I walked to the massive floor-to-ceiling window. Outside, the riverfront glittered like a golden tapestry, lights shimmering on the water, a luxury that almost made me hesitant to blink. My heart felt a little lighter. Maybe the villainous role was tragic, but I didn't have to be. Under my feet, the carpet was handmade and worth a fortune. The closets were filled with jewelry, handbags, and accessories enough to last a lifetime. Just imagining it made me giddy. As for Muk Ti Duong, honestly, I hoped she'd recover quickly. Stay by Chu Vis's side. Stick to him tightly. Let me pass as a background character. Please. Open my eyes. Freedom. Close the door. Peace. And indeed, Muk Ti Duong woke up shortly after. Just frightened. No real injuries. The doctors repeated their diagnosis 10 times with exasperation. Yet Chu Vi and his beloved still insisted someone must have caused the accident. Fine. Whatever. At least he stopped storming into my place. Quiet was gold. Thus began my salted fish lifestyle. Step 1. Move out of Chu Vis's apartment. The place was beautiful but cold, like a showroom, and far too easy for unwanted encounters. I had no desire to become a catalyst for lovers' quarrels. I needed warmth, no drama, a soft blanket, and a full fridge. I instructed the agent clearly. Center of the city. Entire floor. Riverview. Premium interior. Move-in ready. By evening, I rolled my limited edition suitcases into a new 300 square meter apartment. The curved floor-to-ceiling windows let sunlight pour in unhindered. Warm, bright, heavenly, I sank into a cloud-soft sofa and sighed. Yes, this is living. Step 2. Inventory my assets. Even though the original Hoai An had the common sense of a lovesick goldfish, she was still the pampered heiress of the Pho family. Chu Vi didn't love her, but the Chu family cared about appearances. The allowance he transferred each month was enough to make anyone dizzy. I opened the banking app. A long string of zeros filled the screen. My heart thumped in bliss. Step 3. Cut off every tie that might trigger the plot. The original had bribed assistants, drivers, even hired private investigators to track Muk Ti Duong. Laughably foolish. I opened the contacts list. Detective A. Assistant B. Driver C. One by one, I sent concise messages ending all cooperation, confirmed payments, said no farewells, and blocked them, then deleted the chat logs. It felt like wiping off heavy makeup, instant relief. Finally, I opened the chat with husband. The message history made me want to evaporate. Endless fawning texts from the original. It's cold today, remember to dress warm. I cooked soup and asked the driver to bring it to you. Your stomach is weak, don't drink too much. I miss you, please come home. His replies were usually, don't need it. Or complete silence. The latest message nearly made my soul leave my body. I know I was wrong. Can you come home? I miss you. I pressed my palm to my face. Original girl, please spare me some dignity. But as I calmed down, I thought, loving your husband isn't a crime. Meanwhile that man, instead of ending the marriage if he loved someone else, stayed married while openly caring for another woman. Anyone would break under that. I sighed and typed. Chu Vi, we need to talk. Regarding what happened yesterday, Muk Ti Duong's accident had nothing to do with me. If you have evidence, send the legal papers. If not, please stop making assumptions. Also, I've moved out. Unless truly necessary, do not contact me again. You walk your sunlit road. I'll walk my own narrow bridge. As Mrs. Chu, I'll fulfill my responsibilities. Outside affairs of yours, I will no longer involve myself. Each to our own. Peace is best. Asterisk. I hit send. Then calmly changed his saved name from husband to Chew ATM. And turned off notifications. Silence returned. Perfect. To celebrate, I ordered a deluxe seafood feast, grabbed a cold soda, curled on the sofa, and put on a silly comedy show. I laughed while digging into king crab, bluefin tuna, lobster, abalone, caviar, a table overflowing. Life felt beautiful again. As for dieting, tomorrow. This is how you're meant to live after falling into a domineering CEO novel. Why chase after a man with questionable emotional intelligence? I have plenty of dreams to enjoy. And so my days drifted by easily. Once upon a time, Hoai An forced herself into pale dresses and modest sweetness just to please Chu. I used to walk around like a frightened little mouse, tiptoeing everywhere. Taking tiny polite bites, always pretending to be soft and gentle, careful to the point I was scared of stepping on an ant. Now I roam around in an oversized t-shirt with a giant pig face printed across the front. Ripped jeans with holes at the knees. Flimsy plastic flip-flops. And a completely bare face. No makeup, no filter, no effort, and my looks still shine like I accidentally brought my own spotlight. I wander everywhere, street food stalls, viral restaurants, crowded night markets. My left hand holds a whole bundle of grilled squid skewers. My right hand clutches a cup of iced bubble tea. My mouth is shiny with sauce. And honestly, it's glorious. Back then, Hoai An tried so hard to imitate whatever artistic elegance Muk Ti Duong supposedly embodied. I dragged myself through pretentious concerts. Sat for hours staring at abstract paintings. Understanding nothing except, oh wow, someone smeared red paint over white paint. Now I sprawl across my private mini-theater like a lazy cat. The AC blasts Arctic wind. Popcorn is piled into a mountain. And all the messy dramas and blockbusters I never had time for, I binge them all. Some make me sob into my pillows. Others make me laugh so hard I clutch my chest like I'm dying. To keep my fake image as Mrs. Chu the refined socialite, I used to force myself into all those elite afternoon teas. Sitting for hours while wealthy ladies openly or subtly bragged, handbags, watches, whose husband was more capable. I was always tense, terrified someone would expose the truth about my miserable, loveless arrangement with Chu. Now? I cut myself out of that spoiled princess circle without hesitation. I don't pick up calls. I toss invitations directly into the trash. If they want to go, great. I'm busy raiding in games. Refreshing new chapters of my favorite webcomic. Exploring new Sichuan restaurants in search of the perfect spicy burn. Of course, I also take the classes I actually enjoy, running, ZM workouts, dance, piano basics, stock investments, real estate. Money needs to grow. I refuse to waste a single cent, and even less of my time on people who aren't worth it. Ever since the day I sent that message, let's just live our separate lives, the other side has been silent. Not even a one-word acknowledgement. He probably assumes I'm pulling some strategic retreat. Let him. The less contact he makes, the happier I am. And so we drifted further and further apart, like two parallel lines. He stays in his own little world with Muk Ti Duong, reenacting one of those painful romance tropes, hurting each other, longing, then lingering in that vague, joyless, almost love. Until one day, Chu's mother, my mother-in-law in name only, held her birthday banquet. An event I absolutely could not escape. Married on paper is still married on paper. And the Chu family is top-tier aristocracy. All strict tradition and spotless face-saving. The venue was their private manor on a mountainside. When I arrived, the hall was blazing with lights. Champagne glasses clinking, gowns shimmering like they were sprinkled in gold dust. Men were polished in tailored suits, women sparkled like over-decorated Christmas trees covered in diamonds. The air smelled like perfume, money, and power. I glanced at myself. At least I tried tonight. I wore a black spaghetti strap gown, simple. Classic. A thin silk shawl draped across my shoulders for elegance. Light makeup. Muted berry lipstick. Neat bun. The only accessory. A pair of small pearl earrings. Normally, this would have been perfectly appropriate, polished. Understated. But among all these women dressed like walking jewelry stores, I looked simple, almost frugal. Honestly, I didn't expect them to show up like they were attending a red carpet gala. One could have mistaken it for their birthdays. I sighed. Next time I should probably bring a full glam team. I can't let the Chu family lose face, not when I'm living under their roof. Sure enough, the moment I stepped in, I felt all kinds of stares, curious, shocked, entertained. Oh my, isn't that her? That shrill voice. I knew exactly who it belonged to. Miss Lee swept toward me. One of the very women who used to encourage the old me to stir trouble. Her eyes scanned me from head to toe, sharp as hooks. Hoai An, you're awfully simple today. Did President Chu not buy you anything new? Or is he too busy taking care of some other little princess lately? The words struck like bells. And instantly the surrounding ladies tittered and chimed in. Yes, Mrs. Chu, this outfit is hardly enough for Madam Chu's birthday. Maybe President Chu is short on funds lately? Or perhaps he's already moved on, so your position isn't as secure anymore? Roundabout, polite, but sharp enough to bleed, the implication obvious. I'd fallen out of favor. If this were the old Hoai An, she would have panicked or cried or run to Chu V, exactly what they wanted. But now? I calmly picked up a glass of juice from a passing tray. Took a sip, and only then lifted my eyes to Miss Lee. You look lovely today, I said lightly. Honestly, if you hadn't come so close, I wouldn't have noticed your face and neck were two completely different shades. Her smile froze. She instinctively touched her neck. Mrs. Vong beside her burst into an ungraceful laugh. I turned to her, smiling politely. And Mrs. Vong, your diamond bracelet is stunning. If I remember correctly, the price tag came with an impressively long row of zeros. Truly generous of you. Her expression stiffened instantly. She knew I knew. Everyone knew her family had been struggling financially. That bracelet was borrowed. Before she could recover, I turned to Mrs. Tran, still stunned. And as for you, Mrs. Tran, your son's academic misconduct case is still under investigation. Isn't it? Must be stressful. I doubt it'll be resolved anytime soon. Admirable that you still have the energy to worry about other people's marriages. I didn't spare them another glance. I walked off, leaving a cluster of pale, trembling women behind. Cheap provocations like that aren't worth my energy. Anyone living in elite circles picks up information whether they want to or not. And I don't mind giving it back when needed. Letting them get away with it once only encourages them to climb over my head. I headed straight toward the dessert table. Not because I planned to binge, okay. Maybe a little, but because I genuinely love food. I even invest in restaurants. And they've been doing quite well. I picked up a glossy slice of black forest cake. The chocolate aroma rich and sweet. Just as I was about to take a bite. You seem awfully relaxed. A low, cold voice behind me froze my hand midair. I turned and saw Chu V standing a few steps away, wearing a perfectly tailored black suit that highlighted his tall frame. He carried a silent, effortless dominance. Beside him stood Muk Ti Duong in an ivory modern cheongsam, delicate, gentle, with soft long hair and a modest smile, like a fragile orchid waiting to be protected. Placed next to me in my simple black gown, the contrast was striking. Chu V's gaze flicked to the cake, then to my lightly made-up face and bare neck. His brows drew together, barely noticeable, but unmistakable. Irritation, disapproval. Mother is looking for you, he said, tone clipped and commanding. Go greet her, and watch your words. Don't embarrass anyone. Before I could speak, Muk Ti Duong gently tugged his sleeve. Don't speak to her like that, she said softly. She looks lovely tonight. She turned to me with apologetic, innocent eyes. He didn't mean it harshly. He just doesn't want Madam to wait too long. A talking flower. There's always debate, whether Muk Ti Duong is genuinely kind or a high-level white lotus. But the little spark of triumph in her eyes told me everything. Pure? Please. Pure girls don't cling to someone else's husband like a decorative accessory. I didn't bother playing their game. Sure, I said simply. Then right in front of both of them, I stuffed the entire slice of Black Forest cake into my mouth. Zero elegance, cheeks puffed out, chocolate melting everywhere, absolute bliss. Then I grabbed my juice and chugged half of it. What, if I didn't eat it now? Should I let it ruin my lipstick later? Chu Vi stared like I had offended every rule of etiquette he held sacred. Muk Ti Duong froze as well, clearly not expecting me to behave like an actual human being enjoying her life. I wiped my mouth, ignored both of them, and walked straight toward Madame Chu's seat of honor. This banquet was starting to feel like a setup anyway. Madame Chu sat elegantly in a deep purple cheongsam, hair styled neatly, wearing a polite, practiced smile as she conversed with other ladies. When she noticed me approaching, her smile faded almost instantly, her gaze turning sharp. Assessing. Happy birthday, I said evenly. Mrs. Chu gave a slight nod, barely enough to count as a response, her attitude clearly superior. Then her sharp eyes swept over me from head to toe, her brows tightening as if my outfit personally offended her. Why are you dressed so plainly? Do you not realize what today is? Do you have no sense of decorum? The other ladies beside her immediately turned to stare as well, some curious, some openly disdainful. Mrs. Chu continued, her tone even harsher. And another thing, your husband and Ti Duong are both over there. Do you not know what you're supposed to be doing? Go greet them properly. Ah, the same old script. In the past, this kind of scene would have sent the old Hoai An into a panic, fumbling, making mistakes, getting scolded in front of everyone, becoming a walking joke. But me? Absolutely not. I took a slow breath, lifted my chin, and met Mrs. Chu's gaze head on. My health isn't great today, so I kept my outfit simple. And since we're all family here, and you're all elders, I'm sure no one would be petty enough to mind. Besides, you're the star of the party. Isn't it enough that you look stunning already? Even if I wrapped myself in gold, I couldn't match even half your presents. Mrs. Chu clearly didn't expect me to say something so pleasant. Her scolding suddenly sounded like bullying a gentle daughter-in-law, and she couldn't lower herself now, her face reddened instead. If you're already here, then behave yourself. Always sick, always weak, she muttered stiffly. I smiled lightly. I had no intention of sticking my warm face to her cold backside just to get publicly humiliated. I wouldn't want to spread my illness to you or your guests. And I don't want to ruin the mood. I've already given my congratulations, so I'll excuse myself for the night. Mrs. Chu froze, as if she hadn't expected I'd walk away so directly. Back then, Hoai An would have forced herself to act obedient in front of Chu Vi, no matter how humiliated she felt. She'd hold everything in until her face turned red and blue. That only made her mother-in-law more domineering. But now, Mrs. Chu was left choking on half-formed insults. I bowed politely, perfectly proper. I wish you longevity and good health. Your gift is already placed in the study. Please don't trouble yourself over me, your well-being is far more important. I'll be leaving now, ladies, excuse me. Then I turned and walked away. No hesitation. No looking back. Behind me, I could feel their stunned eyes, Mrs. Chu's disbelief, Chu Vi's icy stare cutting at me from afar, and the delighted whispers of the onlookers. But what did any of it have to do with me? I tried to play the good wife. They were the ones who stepped on me in public whenever they pleased. I stepped out of the glittering banquet hall, where music and wine mixed into something suffocating. The night wind outside washed over me, cool, clean, wonderfully soothing. I took a deep breath, nudged a pebble with my toe, and let a smile curl at my lips. Freedom really is the sweetest thing on earth. Chu V showed up more than a month after I moved out of his apartment. It was a rainy weekend afternoon. I had just returned from a week-long business trip, exhausted beyond words, and decided to pamper myself without thinking about money at all. I curled up on the sofa hugging a giant tub of ice cream. Eyes red from watching an old melodrama. The heroine had just broken up with the hero in a tragic life and death scene. And I was crying like a mess, tissues everywhere. The doorbell suddenly rang. Too lazy to move, I grabbed the remote and pulled up the door camera. On screen appeared Chu V's emotionless face. His hair and shoulders were wet from the rain, making his sharp features look even colder, arrogant, icy, like he stepped straight out of a drama. Typical male lead. Empty inside but beautifully packaged outside. I frowned. What did he want? After a few seconds of hesitation, I unlocked the door. Letting a CEO stand in the rain like a statue didn't seem socially acceptable. He walked in, bringing with him the cool scent of rain that drifted through the whole room. His eyes moved around the living room, on the giant projector. The leads were still crying dramatically, and all around were snack wrappers, chips, half-finished soda cans, and me, hugging a giant tub of ice cream in dinosaur pajamas. Eyes puffy and still wet. A perfect example of a fallen socialite. His brows immediately tightened in habitual disgust, this time not even bothering to hide it. What do you want? I sniffled loudly into a tissue. I didn't bother to stand up. Didn't offer him water. Didn't offer him anything. He paused, clearly not used to this version of me. After a moment, he sat on the single chair opposite me. The soft cushion sank under his tall frame, making him look awkward and uncomfortable. Next month is grandfather's 80th birthday, he said in a flat tone. Like reading a report. It will be held at the old estate. You are required to attend. I shoveled a huge spoonful of ice cream into my mouth, so cold it made my teeth ache. Got it. The crude motion made his brows pinch even tighter. Hoai An, mind your manners. I swallowed and replied calmly. This is my home, Chu V. I'm in pajamas, eating ice cream, watching a movie. What manners do you expect? Am I supposed to kneel and bow 8 times? I'm not embarrassing your precious Chu family out in public. His expression shifted, eyes narrowing as if trying to analyze a stranger. What have you been doing lately? He suddenly asked. I blinked. Why, are my eating and sleeping habits bothering you now? He clearly didn't expect me to throw the question back. His face flushed slightly. You're not causing trouble for Duong anymore, right? I almost spit out my ice cream laughing. Chu V, I've said it already, Duong's accident has nothing to do with me. Not a penny's worth. You two need help? Go see a doctor. Stop imagining that everyone is out to get you. I set the ice cream down and looked him straight in the eyes. Relax. I'm too busy enjoying my life to interfere with yours. You just keep transferring the money on time like you promised. And I'll stay out of everything. Love deeply. Suffer dramatically. Whatever he and his precious heroine wanted to do was their business. I was just Mrs. Chu on paper. Paid on schedule. Never interfering. Clear enough for you? But his expression darkened. He stared at me. Something complicated flickering in his eyes. Curiosity? Frustration? Unable to decipher me, he finally said coldly. Hoai An, you'd better stick to what you say. Of course. I pulled the ice cream back into my arms and waved him off lazily. Doors over there. He stood, looking down at me, his usual cold pressure filling the room again. For grandfather's banquet, dress properly, don't embarrass us like you did last time. He left without waiting for a reply. The door closed, sealing away his icy presence. I rolled my eyes and took another big spoonful of ice cream. What an idiot. On screen, the drama couple reunited, crying buckets in each other's arms. I cried right along with them. The annoyance of his visit faded instantly. The Chu family patriarch's 80th birthday banquet was far grander than Mrs. Chu's. The event was held in the main hall of the old mansion, towering ceilings. Crystal lights, intricate carvings everywhere, every detail dripping with old money extravagance. The guests were all political figures, business moguls, and elite families. The atmosphere was both solemn and lively. This time, I wasn't stupid enough to repeat past mistakes. I booked my stylist days in advance. I chose a deep red velvet gown that brushed the floor, classic. Elegant, safe, long sleeves, high neckline, showing only slender wrists. My hair was tied into a perfect updo. Not a strand out of place. The only jewelry I wore was a pair of small jade earrings. Light makeup enhanced my features just enough. The perfect decorative young madam of the Chu family. When I entered, Chu Vis' eyes paused for a second. But he said nothing, just gave a stiff nod, as if reluctantly acknowledging I looked presentable. Ti Duong was also there, dressed in a soft pink chiffon dress, delicate and pure like a little fairy. She stayed close to Chu Vis' side, smiling sweetly. He was gentle with her, blocking drinks for her, leaning down to speak softly, eyes full of affection as if no one else existed. Guests whispered everywhere. That's the one he truly loves. The legal wife? Just decoration. She moved out already, probably getting dumped soon. They whispered quietly, but loud enough. I pretended not to hear. Those words were nothing but buzzing mosquitoes. I grabbed a glass of juice, found a quiet corner, and blended into the background like a decorative wallflower. In my head, I was reviewing my own business plans. Small investments compared to the Chu family's empire, but still mine. The birthday procedures dragged on, speeches, gifts, blessings. Eventually, it was time to eat. Because of my title, I was seated beside Chu Vi, while Ti Duong sat at another table with the daughters from the maternal side. She made sure to sneak a glance at me before sitting, eyes full of pitiful helplessness. As if she carried the suffering of all humanity. Chu Vi noticed and frowned slightly, though he couldn't say much in such a formal place. I sighed internally. A tragic romantic pair, truly. But my pity lasted only 2 seconds. Because the food arrived. Exquisite dishes one after another. Buddha jumps over the wall, rich and fragrant. Steamed grouper, fresh, tender. Lion's head meatballs, soft and delicious. I was completely focused on eating. Satisfied and content. Oblivious to whatever Chu Vi was thinking. He barely touched his food, busy handling greetings from elders. Occasionally he glanced at me, the woman happily eating with sparkling eyes, something unnameable in his gaze. After 3 rounds of wine, the atmosphere grew even livelier. The toasts around the table were getting louder when Ti Duong glided over, holding a glass of red wine like she was floating on a breeze. She stopped right beside Chu Vi, her voice soft enough to disappear into the music. Vi, I'd like to toast you and Hoai An, wishing your grandfather longevity and blessings without end. My eyes twitched. We're toasting his grandfather, why drag me into it? Her face carried that perfectly calculated blush, eyes bright and innocent in a way that made her look fragile. Sincere, and oh so pitiful. Chu Vi raised his glass, then glanced at me with a look that said crystal clear, drink. Whether you like it or not. I calmly set down the crab claw I was eating, wiped my hands one finger at a time, then picked up my glass of orange juice. Thanks. I lifted the glass. My tone couldn't have been more casual. The sentiment is noted. Ti Duong's smile froze for a heartbeat. Her eyes flicked between her wine glass and my orange juice. This. I snorted inside. One woman who lives off drama. One man who gets bored of his mistress and now wants to force his wife to drink, yes. What a perfect match. One of the elders at the table turned. His eyes filled with disapproval. The air tightened instantly, especially when Chu Vi's second uncle, famous for being old school, frowned and barked. Hoai An, she raised her glass. And you answer with juice? Where are your manners? Chu Vi's face darkened. His voice dropped low, sharp with command. Hoai An, pick up the wine. Same old script, as if my only purpose in life was to obey him, to polish his reputation. to keep the Chu family's precious image spotless. The old Hoai An would have forced herself to drink out of desperation, trying to win a shred of affection. Trying to survive in this dynasty of money and power. Even though alcohol made her break out in hives and puke her guts out afterward. But now? Now I looked straight at Chu Vi's handsome, irritated face. Looked at Ti Duong trembling like she might burst into tears any second. Looked at the expectant, judgmental eyes around us. Let's see if she knows her place. A spark of fury lit up in me. It's not like I rejected her toast. I thought, what century is this? Why is someone still being forced to drink? The ladies at the next table can't drink either and nobody cares. But when it's me, suddenly she pretends she's being bullied? Tears on standby, ready to fall at command. And this idiot, always preaching, don't embarrass the Chu family. Act like a proper society wife. But what does he do? In front of everyone, he's the one ready to tear me down. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I put down the orange juice, grabbed a clean bowl, and slowly scooped from the bubbling hot pot on the table, fiery red chili oil. Beef simmering inside, peppers floating on top. Every movement slow, deliberate. Before anyone could react, I poured an entire ladle of the spicy beef soup straight into Ti Duong's wine glass. Sizzle. The wine turned into a murky, dark red concoction, flakes of chili, peppercorns, slices of beef swirling around inside. The whole hall froze, conversations cut off mid-sentence. Even the air seemed to stop. Ti Duong stared at the cocktail in her hand, her face draining of color, her fingers trembling violently. Chu Vi shot up, fury rolling off him. Hoai An, what the hell do you think you're doing? His jaw clenched so hard a vein pulsed at his temple. I wiped the oil splatters off my hand with a napkin, lifted my head, and met his eyes with icy calm. You told me to raise a glass. I did. I'm just terrible with alcohol. So I thought someone else could try it for me. The look he gave me could have burned through steel. He understood exactly what I meant by terrible stuff. Ti Duong's lips quivered, her eyes brimmed with tears. The entire room stared, horrified, the silence so heavy it felt viscous. I curled my lips into the faintest smile, barely there, mocking. Isn't this what you wanted? Your sweetheart couldn't get me to drink. And if word got out, it'd be embarrassing, right? Now she has something to cry about. Everyone saves face. You're welcome. I gestured toward the glass in Ti Duong's shaking hand. A gift. From me to her. Courtesy returned. My gaze slid past her and landed on Chu Vi's ashen face for a beat. And congratulations, Duong. Best of luck taking out the trash. I lifted my chin, bottoms up. Somewhere in the silence, a quiet snort of laughter escaped, tiny but sharp enough to crack the tension like glass. Ti Duong finally broke, tears spilled down her cheeks. Vi, she choked out, voice trembling with humiliation. Chu Vi snatched the glass from her and slammed it onto the table. Crash. Red broth splattered everywhere, staining the expensive tablecloth. His glare at me was pure, murderous rage. Hoai An. The words came out like crushed ice. I calmly dabbed a drop of oil from my wrist, cleaned my ear as if bored, and spoke in a tone almost eerily even. Relax, Vi. I've been perfectly civil. Your darling has her excuse to cry. You have a reason to console her. Everyone wins. Now, may I go back to finishing my crab claw? His chest rose and fell violently. But he said nothing, just stared at me like he was seeing a stranger for the first time. Yeah, because I wasn't the old Hoai An anymore. The room stayed dead silent. Every breath audible, all eyes locked on us, stunned, delighted, scandal-hungry. Finally, Chu Vi grabbed his suit jacket, pulled a sobbing Ti Duong to her feet, and stormed out of the hall. His retreating figure was dark and awkward, swallowed by the gloating stares around him. I simply sat back down, picked up my half-eaten crab claw, and took a bite with unhurried elegance. Cold now, shame, it had been perfect. After that birthday banquet, Things between me and Chu V dropped below freezing, no. Below absolute zero. The upper circle buzzed like bees. News spread faster than wildfire. Mrs. Chu poured chili oil soup into the glass of the beloved mistress. CEO Chu stormed out of the banquet. Every version spiced up to taste. Some said I'd gone mad. Some said I was wild and fearless. Some said heartbreak had driven me to insanity. Please, as if I cared. Chu V didn't reach out again. But the living allowance still arrived on schedule, every cent. He wasn't stupid, he knew. If people learned that the heir of a billion-dollar conglomerate didn't even support his wife financially, it'd be embarrassing as hell. My life was peaceful for a while, relaxing. Almost like I was retired. Until one day, the woman who was my mother, in name only, showed up. Mrs. Fa, Hoai An's biological mother. A woman who saw her daughter as nothing but a tool to cling to the Chu family. In the memories of the original Hoai An, she had never given even a drop of maternal affection. Only demands, only control. Stay in the Chu family. Secure this heart. Fight for the Fa family's Li Yi. The old Hoai An had spent her whole life begging for a scrap of approval. Obedient, desperate. But now? Now Mrs. Fa barged into my apartment. Her perfectly maintained face twisted with rage. Hoai An, look at the mess you've created. She slammed a gossip magazine onto the coffee table. On the cover was a photo of me, Chu V, and Ti Duong at the banquet, the dripping red soup captured perfectly. Mrs. Chu's jealous rage humiliates the mistress. CEO Chu storms off in fury. Her voice cracked with fury. You've made me a laughingstock. She jabbed a finger at my face. Do you know how many society ladies are mocking me? Saying I raised a useless daughter who can't even keep her husband. I sat curled on the sofa, legs crossed, eating potato chips, not even looking up. Oh. That was all I said. You. She screeched, snatching the chips from my hand. Eat, that's all you do. Look at yourself, useless. I calmly looked up at her flushed, furious face. Inside, I felt nothing. So what do you want me to do? I asked. Apologize to V, apologize to Ti Duong, beg them to forgive you. Move back into the Chu family mansion. And hurry up and get pregnant. Only then can you secure your position. Same old broken song. I smiled faintly. Mother, this heart is with Ti Duong. You know that, even if I kneel, it'll only make him hate me more. Then find another way. She stomped her foot. Learn from Ti Duong, learn how to please a man. Act weak, act pitiful, act understanding. You're prettier than her, just lower yourself a little. I can't. My voice was cold. You have to, she shrieked. Useless girl. Hoai An, don't forget who you are. You're a Fa. We fed you, raised you, educated you, married you into the Chu family. Not so you could sit here and do nothing. You owe us. Ah. The familiar chains of duty. Of gratitude. Chains that had crushed the original owner of this body. I stood up, walked to the window, and watched the traffic flowing below. Mother, I said quietly, without turning around. All the money you spent raising me, I'll pay it back. When Mrs. Fa froze and snapped, what did you just say? I turned around and met her eyes head on. My voice cold and steady. Every monthly allowance V sent? I haven't touched a cent. Add my dowry and everything I saved. I read out the number. It was a number that made her inhale sharply as if the air had suddenly turned too thick to breathe. This amount is more than enough to cover every cent your family ever spent raising me. Mrs. Fo's mouth hung open. And if it's not enough, I continued, I can liquidate the investments, stocks, and properties under my name. Put them all together and it should be enough to patch the giant financial hole in the Fa family. She stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Hoai An, have you gone insane? That's your future, your life. My future? I laughed. My future has nothing to do with the Fa family anymore. I stepped closer, calm but merciless. A lawyer will handle the transfer. The money goes straight to your family's account. Consider it payment. I'm buying myself out of your so-called kindness. From now on, you're your own people. I'm mine. Don't come looking for me. And don't even dream of selling me off to secure another project. I leaned in slightly, voice low and sharp. Because if you push me, every single thing you did, forcing me to starve myself so I'd look valuable, making me drop out of the school I fought so hard to get into just to chase after V. The beatings from your husband every time his projects failed, every detail will come out. All of it. I spoke slowly, clearly. Every word hit her like a slap. Her face went from furious to shocked to ghost white. You, her finger trembled violently as she pointed at me. Ungrateful brat, we raised you for nothing. Without the Pho family, without the title of Mrs. Chu, you're nothing. Well then you don't need to worry about me anymore. I replied, ice cold. The door's right there, see yourself out. She trembled with rage, snatched up her Hermes bag, shot me a murderous look, and hissed. Fine, wonderful, Hoai An, you're impressive. Let's see how long you stay smug. Just wait, once V kicks you out like trash, we'll see where you go crying. Her heels hammered against the floor as she stormed out. The door slammed so violently the walls rattled. I stood there, staring at the empty doorway. I didn't feel the dramatic sense of liberation I'd imagined. Just a hollow ache, maybe leftover emotions from the original owner of this life. Or maybe the pathetic last trace of hope for something like family. Everyone wants somewhere to belong. The husband's side didn't give it. The biological side didn't either. I shook my head, cleared the useless feelings away, and walked to the fridge. I grabbed a cold drink, cracked it open, and took a long pull. The chill slid down my throat and snapped everything back into focus. True to her word, Mrs. Pho never contacted me again. The whole Pho family cut ties cleanly. The world finally went quiet. And I started living exactly how I wanted. I picked up new hobbies, opened a few specialty restaurants staffed by veteran chefs, bought a few more properties, just in case. Time slipped by, more than half a year passed. Late autumn brought a crisp chill in the air. One day I was curled up at home watching a new food documentary that had me practically drooling. Especially a shot of an old beef noodle shop tucked deep in a narrow alley. The camera zoomed in on a steaming bowl of noodles, glistening chili oil, scallions tossed with a practiced flick of the wrist. And the place was right here in the city. I immediately turned off the TV, threw on a hoodie and jeans, grabbed my keys and phone, and shot out the door. The author probably never expected a side character to be this food-obsessed. Forget plot armor, nothing beats a good bowl of noodles. Following the map, turning left and right what felt like 8 times, I finally found it, a tiny, humble beef noodle shop hidden in an old apartment block. The signboard was so faded the paint was peeling. Plastic stools, greasy folding tables, packed to the brim with people. The air was thick with the smell of beef broth and chili oil. My stomach growled. I got in line. Eventually, it was my turn. 1 beef noodle, extra meat, add an egg, double spicy, I said with full conviction. All right, go sit inside, the owner shouted without looking up. There were no seats inside, so I found a tiny plastic stool near the entrance. As soon as I sat down, I heard a soft, familiar voice from the table beside me, a little shaky, a little pitiful. You're leaving? I didn't think things would turn out like this. And then, President Tran, that's Muk Ti Duong. Instinctively, I turned my head. Of course it was her. White knit dress, beige trench coat, fragile, innocent, tragic. The man across from her wore a dark gray coat, broad shoulders, straight back. He had his back to me, so I couldn't see his face, just his voice, low and steady. I know, I'll take care of it. But the project, it fell through. Muk Ti Duong whispered, voice cracking. Chairman Vong is furious. It's my fault. I messed everything up. I'm so useless. How could I fail something so small? It's not your fault, V said flatly. That Tran guy was trouble from the start. So what do we do now? She asked weakly. V paused. Eat first. I almost laughed. Really? I followed my stomach and still managed to walk straight into this cliché? The shop owner arrived with my bowl. Girl, beef noodles for you. Double meat, extra egg, double spicy, careful, it's hot. Her voice rang out loud and clear, drawing the attention of several customers, including V and Muk Ti Duong. V turned. His eyes met mine at the exact moment I lifted my head. For a split second, time stretched thin. His pupils tightened. His expression didn't change, but the shock in his eyes was unmistakable. He had not expected to see me here. In a cramped, greasy noodle shop, surrounded by noise and steam, sitting on a plastic stool. Me, Hoai An. The woman who used to burn money on luxury brands now wearing a cheap hoodie. Messy ponytail, burr-faced. Yet somehow still impossible not to look at twice. I ignored them and mixed my noodles with expert precision. The spicy steam hit my nose. I took a full chopstick's worth and slurped. The noodles soaked in chili oil slid down like silk. The beef melted. The egg yolk oozed into the broth. One bite, and sweat dotted my forehead, but it was heaven. I didn't bother with image. Didn't care that two, high-value, people were sitting a table away. But V kept staring. Studying me. Like he didn't recognize the creature I'd become. Ti Duong tugged his sleeve. V, let's go, this place isn't good for talking. He didn't move. His eyes stayed on me, on my red lips. The sweat at my temples. The way I wiped a streak of chili oil from my chin with the back of my hand. His brows tightened, then slowly relaxed. The shock in his gaze softened into something else. Something deeper. Harder to decipher. Suddenly he called out, "Owner." The shop owner didn't even look up. What? One beef noodle, V said. Ti Duong froze. Even I paused. I looked up at him. Surprised. He added, same as hers. Extra meat, extra egg, double spicy. Ti Duong's face paled. V, you can't handle spicy, your stomach. It's fine, he cut in. The owner grunted and went back to cooking. Ti Duong stared at him, then at me, a storm of emotions in her eyes. I just kept eating. Food first, always. Soon his bowl arrived, just as intimidatingly red as mine. He snapped the disposable chopsticks apart. Clumsy, almost hesitant, he picked up some noodles, stared at the chili oil practically dripping off them, and put them in his mouth. Slowly chewed. And then, his eternally composed face exploded in color. His ears turned red. Then his neck. A vein popped on his forehead. He choked, violently, coughing like the chili was trying to kill him. Tears sprang to his eyes. Ti Duong panicked. V, drink water. I told you can't handle spicy. He gulped the water desperately. Finally, the coughing died down. His eyes were watery, lips swollen, forehead sweating. The complete opposite of the cold, untouchable CEO he pretended to be. I stared at him. And burst out laughing. A clean, sharp, unrestrained laugh that rang out in the brief silence after his catastrophic coughing fit. V suddenly jerked his head up. His eyes bloodshot as he glared at me, like he wanted to swallow me whole. Embarrassed and furious, I slapped a hand over my mouth, shoulders shaking as I tried desperately not to laugh. He stared at me for several seconds. With eyes like that, if looks could kill, I would have died 100 times already. Then he abruptly shot to his feet, so fast the table rattled, almost knocking over the untouched bowl of bright red spicy noodles in front of him. Let's go. His voice was hoarse, thick through his nose, directed at Muk Ti Duong. Without even looking at me, he grabbed her dazed hand and practically fled in panic, leaving behind the steaming noodles and me. watching his figure disappear at the end of the alley. I finally lost it. I collapsed onto the plastic table, laughing so hard I couldn't get up, tears running down my face. God, that felt good. That bowl of noodles was worth every penny. After that accidental run-in at the noodle shop, V vanished like he'd evaporated from the world. No messages, no calls, not even a trace. Even the monthly allowance from Hang Thang stopped. I opened my banking app. The long line of digits was still there, untouched, more than enough to live on. If it stopped, it stopped. Good. Cut the last string tying us together. My life returned to perfect quiet, work, books, movies, games, wandering into random alley restaurants. Days flowed by like calm water. Nothing to complain about. Before I knew it, the year's end arrived. The weather turned cold. I bundled myself in a thick puffer jacket and headed to the newly opened hot spring resort outside the city, hoping to relax. After a long soak, my whole body felt loose, hair still dripping. I shuffled in my slippers toward the buffet. I grabbed a plate of grilled shrimp and a few pastries, found a peaceful seat by the window, hadn't even taken a bite when arguing voices rose from behind the partition. I froze. I knew that voice too well to pretend I didn't. Duong, how long are you going to keep causing trouble? This voice sounded tired, like he was suppressing anger. Me? I'm the one causing trouble? Duong's voice was sharper than usual, edged with tears. Hoai An is insane. That day at the noodle shop, she did it on purpose to embarrass you. And you still say she has nothing to do with you? Enough. V cut her off, voice flat with impatience. Nothing to do with you? Ever since she showed up, you haven't been the same. Duong nearly shouted. You never looked at me like that before. You never ate spicy food. You were never shaken. She changed you. She ruined everything. Stop. This voice suddenly cracked through the air, sharp as a blade. The room fell completely silent. Even the clinking dishes in the dining hall seemed to halt. I calmly picked up a shrimp, dipped it in sauce, and ate. People definitely heard that. I speared a pastry and popped it into my mouth. Good cream, sweet, but not too much. V. Duong's voice softened, thick with fear and wounded pride. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell. I'm scared of losing you. Hoai An, she's not good for you. She's crude, rough, like some market hag. She only embarrasses you. She used to pathetically copy me. And now she's using some soft force tactics to pull you back. V, only I truly love you. Only I understand you. Silence. Long enough I thought they'd left. Then V finally spoke. Low, tired, distant. Duong, we need to take a break from each other. No, V, I don't want to. This period of time, he cut her off, tone brooking no argument. Don't come looking for me anymore. Fast footsteps, heels clicking, someone crying as they ran away. Then slower, heavier footsteps approached, toward me. I focused intently on peeling the last shrimp, dipping it, eating it. V appeared beside my table, still in the resort's bathrobe, hair wet, skin pale, faint shadows under his eyes. He looked exhausted. He stared at me, at my satisfied eating. The pile of shrimp shells. The pastry plate, his expression unreadable. I didn't look up. I didn't invite him to sit. Only the sound of my chewing filled the air. You heard everything. His voice was rough. I swallowed, wiped my hands leisurely, then finally looked up. Yeah, the soundproofing isn't great, and you two were loud. Mental note. I should complain to management later. This lips twitched, like he wanted to smile but couldn't. Sorry you had to see that. It's fine, I said calmly. I'm used to it. He fell silent again. His eyes rested on me, searching. Unsure. Hoai An. You, he hesitated, choosing his words. You're doing well, like this. I raised a brow. Is that a compliment? Thanks. He looked at me again. Gaze deep. Before, I misjudged you. I paused. Was this an apology? A CEO-style late awakening? You're exaggerating, I said lightly. I used to be annoying. And I troubled you. Now we don't bother each other. Works out. I stood, picking up my tray. Enjoy your meal, I'll head out. I took 2 steps when his voice rang out behind me, carrying a strange, stubborn emotion. Those spicy noodles, I tried them again. I can eat them now. I stopped, turned slightly, confused. He stood there, bathrobe loosely tied, collarbones showing, wet hair falling over his forehead, none of his usual coldness. If anything, he looked lost and strangely determined. It's very spicy, he repeated, but the flavor, it's not bad. I looked at him, the man who once treated me like trash, now awkward, stubborn, vulnerable. I felt nothing. If anything, I wanted to laugh. Good, I said. Next time, try the mild version. Don't force it. Some things will never be for you. With that, I carried my empty plate away without looking back, leaving him, and his absurdly late realization, behind. Spring approached. On my balcony, the succulent pots had begun sprouting fresh, green buds. I was watering them when my phone rang, an unknown number. Hello, is this Hoai An? A serious middle-aged male voice. This is she. Good afternoon, I'm the attorney representing V. My heart skipped. Ah. So this legal strike finally came. What now? Divorce? Kick me out? Demand I leave empty-handed? Please don't misunderstand, the lawyer added quickly, sensing my silence. It's regarding the divorce agreement. V has given me full authority to handle everything. Of course. I steadied myself. Go on. His intention is to respect all of your wishes. The apartment you're currently living in, and all the funds previously transferred to your personal accounts, including stocks and investments, will remain yours. Consider it, the lawyer paused, consider it compensation for what you've been through. Compensation? I let out a soft laugh. Additionally, he continued, if you desire any further assets, real estate, or monetary compensation. No need, I cut him off. Just do it his way. When do I sign? The lawyer seemed stunned by how decisive I was. You're certain you don't want to reconsider? Certain. Sunlight streamed through the window. The sooner the better. I understand, he said, recovering his professional tone. I've prepared the agreement. If it's convenient, we can arrange an in-person signing. Or I can deliver. No need. Email it. I'll sign and send it back. Very well, I'll send it immediately. The email arrived within minutes. I opened it, scrolled to the last page. Pulled out my tablet and stylus. In bold, fluid strokes, I signed my name, Hoai An. No hesitation. No regret. Only relief. I scanned the signed page and returned it with a note. Signed. Please handle the rest. When everything was done, I set the tablet aside, stretched, letting the warm sunlight wash over me. From today onward, I was officially free. The divorce process was quick, quiet, almost invisible. When the dark blue certificate was finally in my hands, it felt like a passport to absolute liberation. The first thing I did was put the luxury apartment, where I'd lived for nearly a year, up for sale. The real estate agent stared at me like I'd lost my mind. Ms. Fa, this location, this design, this furnishing, you're really sure you want to sell? The market isn't great right now. I told the agent to sell it, quickly. 10% below market price. His eyes lit up right away. No problem, leave it to me. It didn't take long before a buyer showed up, a newly rich entrepreneur who paid for everything in cash. On the handover day, I stood at the door with my limited edition suitcase, taking one last look at the apartment that had held almost all my peaceful days after falling into this book's world. The sunlight was beautiful, pouring through the floor-to-ceiling windows, bright and warm. Goodbye, Mrs. Chu. I closed the door without looking back. On the other side of the city, In an old neighborhood full of everyday life. I rented a small storefront by the road, barely 50 square meters. The front was the cooking area, the back was divided into a tiny room where I could stay. It used to be a bubble tea shop. Now closed. I took over and redesigned it in my own style. I've owned many restaurants before, but most were shares under someone else's name. I'd always dreamed of having a place where I could cook with my own hands, where I could pour all my love for food into every bowl. And so, Hoai An Noodle Shop was born. There was no grand opening ceremony, just a small string of firecrackers. A few curious neighbors peeked in. A new noodle shop? The owner's so young and pretty, can she really cook? Doesn't look like it. Wearing an apron, I stood behind the steaming pot of bone broth that had simmered all night. The smell was incredible. On the cutting board were the results of months of hard practice, hand-pulled noodles. Springy and even, and my signature spicy stir-fried beef. Glossy red and mouthwatering. For the first 3 days. It's buy one get one free. I called out with a smile. A reward that generous was bound to tempt someone. Soon a few neighbors stepped inside, followed by several construction workers from the site down the street. Is it really buy one get one? Give me a bowl to try. I'll take one too. My hands flew. Drop noodles. Lift noodles. Pour broth. Pile on the spicy beef. Scatter fresh green scallions. Each bowl came out steaming and fragrant. This is amazing. The broth is really good. Noodles are nice and chewy too. Your skills are impressive, boss. So good, give me another bowl. I'll take the free one home for my kid. The tiny noodle shop quickly filled with noise, slurping noodles, satisfied murmurs, cheerful chatter, everyday life at its warmest. Sweat dotted my forehead, but my heart felt steady and full. This was real life. Hot and solid in my own hands. Business went better than I expected. My skills were something I truly worked for: rich broth, fragrant beef, bouncy noodles, big portions at a fair price. Word spread fast through the neighborhood and among nearby workers. Hoai An noodles became the new hotspot. At mealtimes, people lined up outside. I was so busy I barely touched the ground, cooking, serving, collecting payments like a high-speed spinning top. Exhausting, but fulfilling. That afternoon, after the lunch rush, my back and shoulders ached. I was sitting on a little stool rubbing my waist when the chime on the door rang. Welcome, what would you like? Menus on the wall, I said without looking up. A bowl of beef noodles. A low, familiar voice. My hand froze. I looked up. Chu Wei stood at the door. No expensive suit today. Just a simple black shirt with the sleeves casually rolled up, showing strong forearms. His hair wasn't styled, a few strands fell over his forehead. He looked less sharp than usual, more worn and weathered. He looked at me, at the tiny shop cramped with the smell of broth and oil, at my grease-stained apron, at my tired, slightly pale face. His eyes held complicated shadows. President Chu? I stood, surprised. How did you find this place? Your lawyer mentioned it, he said, sitting on a small plastic stool by the wall. It was so low his long legs barely fit. He looked a little ridiculous. What do you want to eat? He nodded. Beef noodles, double meat, add an egg. He paused. Less spicy. I met his gaze. His eyes were calm, carrying a quiet emotion I couldn't quite name. Okay, give me a moment. I turned and began cooking. Water boiling, noodles in, noodles out, into a big bowl, hot bone broth poured over. A thick layer of glossy red beef on top. A perfectly fried sunny-side-up egg. Finally, a sprinkle of fresh scallions. Your noodles, less spicy. The aroma filled the air instantly. He looked at the bowl, then at me. He picked up a pair of disposable chopsticks, broke them apart, and started eating, still a little clumsy, but very serious. After a few bites, he nodded. It's good. His voice was sincere. Thank you for your support. 25 yuan, I said, pointing to the QR code on the wall. He froze, clearly not expecting me to ask so directly. He put down his chopsticks, took out his wallet, and handed me a red bill. Keep the change. I stared at it. No, this shop doesn't run tabs. And I don't take tips. Please scan the code. 25. His hand hung midair. He looked at me for a few seconds, searching for something, but there was no anger in me. No resentment, just the calm distance between a seller and a customer. Eventually, he withdrew the bill, took out his phone, and scanned. You've received 25 yuan. The electronic voice said. Thank you. Enjoy your meal. I smiled professionally and returned to the kitchen. He stayed there a long time. When I came back out, he was gone, leaving behind a bowl of noodles barely touched, now cold. I didn't think much of it. I cleaned up quietly and dumped the remaining noodles. Night fell. I turned off the lights, locked up, and went into my cozy little room. After a shower, I lay down and replied to a few friends' messages. My life was simple but peaceful now. I was no longer a girl trapped in a storm of love and hate. No longer a supporting character in someone else's story. I heard that Chu Wei and Bai, his beloved, female lead, didn't end well. She caused scenes at the office and his home, crying and threatening that she couldn't live without him. His parents aged 10 years from the stress. Chu Wei, blinded by his own choices, lost several major contracts to competitors. The company's stock plummeted. He struggled for months, unable to break free. When I heard all this, I didn't feel happy, nor vindicated. Everyone pays for their choices. Their price is theirs to shoulder. I no longer care. Life is long. I refuse to bury myself in meaningless pain. I want to live well, see the world with gentleness and compassion. Meet kind people like warm sunlight. Work harder, be better, and be kinder. I don't need anyone to lead the way, nor a romantic story to validate my worth. I just want to be the best version of myself, strong, steady, walking on my own. The story ends here, but the night is far from over. Join us again, where new secrets and passions await.